I grew up with Nox Shun, and our families arranged our engagement early on. In my past life, the Shun family was framed by villains and exiled. I loved Nox Shun and, despite my family's objections, refused to divorce him and accompanied him to the borderlands in exile. Along the way, I took care of him and his family, managed everything, and spent every last bit of the silver my parents had given me. The borderlands were harsh, to make ends meet. I went hunting in the mountains and gathered wild vegetables, accidentally breaking my leg. In the dead of winter, I washed clothes and cooked for his entire family, my hands covered in frostbite, yet I still took on laundry work for others. When moved, Nox Shun once held my hand and said, "Kira, I will work hard to turn my life around and give you a good life." I stood by him during the lowest point of his life. Later, Nox Shun indeed rose to prominence through military achievements. Becoming a formidable general, filled with joy, I thought our hardships were finally over. Yet, on the very day the emperor bestowed honors, Nox Shun demoted me from wife to concubine. Using his military merits, he obtained an imperial decree, elevating his first love, Xia Shun, to the prestigious title of first-rank lady, basking in boundless glory. Kira Jiang, Xia has suffered too much. I want her to enter the Shun family with dignity. To show those who once looked down on her in her former husband's family how honorable she is now. What about me, Nox Shun? Where do you place me? Kira, you've accompanied me at the border for so many years, enduring hardships and toil. I'm truly grateful. But Kira, you must understand. The only one I love is Xia. Only she is worthy of being my, Nox Shun's, rightful wife. However, I, Nox Shun, am not an ungrateful man, apart from the title of the general's wife. You shall lack nothing that Xia has. Everything I've earned can be shared with you. Sister, thank you for staying by Nox's side all these years. It was a twist of fate, and I only regret that it wasn't me who accompanied Nox through those difficult times. Xia sobbed softly, and the usually rough around the edges Nox Shun was immediately flustered, carefully comforting Xia. Xia, this isn't your fault. I believe in your sincerity. All these years, I've endured too much hardship both at his home and outside. There were times when I couldn't bear it and tried to confide in him, but Nox Shun would just dismiss me with a single remark. Women are always so melodramatic. At the time, I simply thought Nox Shun, being a man, didn't understand how to be considerate. Now I see it wasn't that Nox Shun didn't know how to be tender. It's just that I wasn't the one who could make him care. Xia held my hand with an apologetic expression, yet her eyes were filled with triumph. Sister, thank you for taking care of Nox all these years. I originally didn't want to compete with you for the position of the general's wife, but Nox's brother pitied me, which has wronged you. Sister, my heart was filled with bitterness and resentment, but for the sake of my frail daughter, I had no choice but to endure. I have a 3-year-old daughter, because I suffered too much hardship during those years at the border. The cold accumulated in my body was too severe, and the child was born weak and sickly. Now, she relies on expensive medicinal herbs every day to stay healthy. My in-laws, who had been cared for by me all these years, even scolded Nox Shun when they learned he had demoted me from wife to concubine, pointing out that he shouldn't have done so. Upon learning that Xia was already pregnant with Nox Shun's child, their attitude immediately changed. When I gave birth to my daughter, my health was compromised, and I could no longer conceive. All they ever wanted was a grandson. Now that Xia is carrying Nox Shun's child, my in-laws couldn't wait to dote on her, afraid she might suffer the slightest grievance. Kira, be more understanding. Xia is carrying the future heir of the Shun family. Your courtyard is spacious. Let Xia have it. With just one word from my mother-in-law, I moved out of the main courtyard with my daughter. Xia looked increasingly smug, yet her tone was full of grievance. Sister, I didn't want to, but mother-in-law said we can't let the child in my belly suffer. Before I could say anything, Nox Shun strode in from outside and scolded me right away. Kira Jiang, this is mother's wish. Why are you making things difficult for Xia? Alone and heartbroken, tears streamed down my face as my sensible daughter gently touched my cheek with her cold little hand. Mommy, Lyra is here with you. Don't cry, Mommy, the pain will fly away. I held my daughter tightly in my arms. As long as I had her, I regretted nothing. in the blink of an eye, it was almost time for Sia to give birth. Everyone in the household revolved around her, and the kitchen only sent over cold leftovers. I knew it was useless to complain to anyone, so I lit the stove myself. Having lived on the frontier for so long, such basic survival skills were no challenge for me, but I never expected fate to be so cruel. My daughter suddenly fell ill as the weather turned bitterly cold, her little face burning with fever. My eyes reddened as I sent the maid to fetch a doctor. Lady Jiang, Lady Chen is giving birth today. All the doctors are with her. I truly couldn't bring one here, the maid replied. I had the maid take care of my daughter while I rushed to Sia's side. A circle of doctors surrounded the delivery room door. I knelt before Nox Shun, begging him to spare one doctor for my daughter. Nox Shun only thought I was using my daughter as an excuse, his face full of disgust. Kira Jiang, how have you become so vicious now? Sia is in difficult labor, and you deliberately choose this moment to cause trouble. If anything happens to Sia, I won't let you off. With that, Nox Shun ordered his men to drag me out. I ran through every street and alley, finally finding an old doctor, but by the time we returned to the mansion, my daughter was already beyond saving. Mother, it's so cold. It hurts so much, holding my daughter's gradually cooling body. My heart felt as if it were being torn apart. Filled with hatred, I grabbed a knife and rushed into Sia's courtyard. I wanted to perish together with Sia Nox Shun. In that moment, the scene was chaotic, and my mind was consumed with nothing but the desire to kill, to avenge my daughter. By the time I came to my senses, Nox Shun's sword had already pierced my chest. I looked up to see Nox Shun's face full of shock and bewilderment. Kira, my daughter and I died together on that cold snowy night. After my death, my ghost drifted in the air. Witnessing that Nox Shun did not enjoy his glory for long, I don't know why he offended the regent, but the regent charged him with crimes and ordered the execution of his entire family, Nox Shun's whole household, including Sia and the son she bore. All fell in a pool of blood, none escaped, yet my memorial tablet was taken away, cradled in the arms of the regent. Waking up again and seeing the unfamiliar yet familiar scene, I finally confirmed that I had truly been reborn to a time before the Shun family's downfall. Kira, I'm sorry. I misunderstood about our daughter. I never expected. Also, I didn't want to kill you. The situation was too chaotic at the time, and you insisted on barging in. It was a series of unfortunate events that led to this outcome. Nox Shun's eyes were filled with deep guilt and remorse. It was only later that he learned their daughter was gone. Kira Jiang had gone mad because of their daughter's death. Hearing these words, I was certain that Nox Shun had also been reborn. A heavy slap landed on Nox Shun's face. Nox Shun, let's divorce. In my previous life, the moment Nox Shun brought Sia into the general's mansion, I wanted to sever all ties with him. For my daughter's sake, I had to endure. Heaven took pity on me and sent me back to before the Shun family was raided. As long as I divorce in time, even if the Shun family offers no compensation, I can still keep my dowry and live a life of wealth. All those years at the border taught me how important money is. Men are the least reliable. Nox Shun looked at me in disbelief. After all, in my past life, even when the Shun family was raided and exiled, I never mentioned divorce. Kira, I know you're angry with me because of Sia, but even if you leave the Shun family, what good marriage could you possibly secure? It would be better to live peacefully in the Shun household. Although I don't love you, I will give you at least the basic respect and honor you deserve. Hearing Nox Shun's words, I sneered inwardly. The so-called honor Nox Shun offers is something I can't afford to accept. But now is not the time to argue with Nox Shun. There's less than half a month left before the Shun family faces confiscation, and I must quickly divorce and sever ties with them. Who knows if there will be any unforeseen changes after being reborn. In any case, it boils down to 4 words: divorce as soon as possible. Nox, that slap just now was what you owed me. I wasn't just speaking in anger earlier. You should understand very well what the Shun family is about to face. We can't just stand by and do nothing. If we divorce, I can at least keep my dowry, so when that day comes, we won't be completely unprepared. I suppressed the hatred in my heart, trying my best to appear docile while enduring the disgust I felt for Nox Shun. Nox Shin's furrowed brows relaxed slightly at these words, and his expression softened considerably. Kira, you don't need to worry. Since fate has given me a chance to start over, this time I'll definitely take precautions in advance. The Shun family won't suffer the same calamities as in our past lives. Nox Shin was brimming with confidence, clearly believing that if he could return to the capital in glory through his own abilities in such dire circumstances in his past life, then with the opportunity of rebirth, success was all but assured. But I knew things weren't that simple. In my previous life, when I returned to the capital, my family gave me the information they had gathered over the years, but back then, I was so disheartened by Nox Shin's actions that I buried those findings at the bottom of a chest and never told Nox Shin about them. Nox, it's always better to be prepared. I know you're capable, but what if, I'm just saying, what if we could get a divorce first? It would be another layer of protection. Once the Shun family overcomes this crisis, you can bring me back. As you said, who would want someone like me, divorced after marriage? Having seen Sia play the fragile and pitiful act in my past life, I knew Nox Shin fell for it every time. Sure enough, Nox Shin showed a hint of hesitation on his face after hearing my words. I pressed on. Nox, don't you already know how I feel about you? Do you really think I would take the dowry and leave without coming back? With a look of melancholy and devotion, I moved Nox Shin. Kira, how could I ever doubt your feelings for me? Nox, I can agree to a divorce, but before that, you must promise me one thing. I will only ever be the principal wife in this lifetime. If you love Sia, you may take her as a noble concubine. Hearing my words, Nox Shin finally relaxed and gave his consent. There's no time to lose. Nox, sign the divorce papers as soon as possible so I can transfer my dowry. Also, don't delay, go and gather information immediately to understand what's really going on, so we can be prepared. I never mentioned any information I knew from my past life. Just waiting to see the proud Nox Shin hit a wall. After all his efforts, he would still face confiscation of property and exile. When that time comes, Nox Shin will surely be devastated. Master, Madam, the old mistress asks you to come over. Nox Shin was just at the critical moment of writing the divorce agreement when his mother suddenly sent someone to summon him. Even after living a second life and so much time has passed, I still remember exactly why my mother-in-law called me over. In my past life, I was infatuated with Nox Shin and refused to listen to my mother-in-law's advice to take a concubine for him. Defying her wishes, as punishment, I was made to kneel in the ancestral hall for a full day and night. When I arrived at the old madam's quarters, it was exactly as I remembered. At this time, despite her age, the old madam's complexion was fair and smooth, exuding an air of nobility. She sat there with a stern expression, her face cold and serious. Kira, you've been married into our Shun family for 3 years now, yet you've failed to produce an heir. It's pitiful that Nox, at his age, still has no descendants. It's not that I, as your mother-in-law, am being harsh, but heirs are a matter of family importance. It was my fault as a daughter-in-law, in my past life. These words had deeply saddened me, but now they left me utterly indifferent. I watched as a delicate-looking girl stood beside the old madam. This is your cousin from the Xiao family, a truly excellent girl, and utterly devoted to Nox. My intention is to have your cousin enter the household as Nox's noble concubine. Don't worry, any children she bears will be recorded under your name, so you'll have someone to care for you in your old age. In my past life, these words had shattered me. I had begged my mother-in-law for more time, insisting I wasn't infertile. I didn't want another woman bearing Nox Shin's children. I firmly refused. And Nox Shin also insisted on not taking a concubine. My mother-in-law was furious and immediately scolded me for being unfilial, ordering me to kneel in the ancestral hall. At the time, I was quite moved. Even though the old madam punished me by making me kneel in the ancestral hall, I accepted it willingly. Only later did I learn that Nox Shin refused to take a concubine solely because of his promise to Sia. Mother's consideration is thorough. In that case, let cousin Xiao enter the household. I, too, look forward to having another sister to help take care of Nox together. In this lifetime, I don't care about Nox Shin at all and want to sever all ties with him, not to mention one noble concubine. Even if he were to take 8 or 10, I wouldn't object. My mother-in-law didn't expect me to give in so easily. Overjoyed, she slipped an emerald bracelet she treasured onto my wrist as compensation. I was thrilled. This bracelet wasn't cheap, though it wasn't suitable for someone my age to wear. Selling it outside would fetch at least 2,000 taels of silver. No wonder she cherished it so much. To arrange a concubine for Nox Shin, my mother-in-law really went all out. Hearing this, Nox Shin's expression darkened. No. I promised Kira I'd never take a concubine in this lifetime. Mother, send cousin back. Listening to Nox Shin using me as a shield once again, I smiled and said, Nox, I know you have my best interests at heart and worry I might suffer, but your cousin is also sincere in her feelings for you. Besides, what mother said isn't without reason. Heirs are a family's great concern. Since you're so devoted to me, how could I not consider your needs in return? In the end, thanks to my strong encouragement, the Shin family cousin was welcomed into the household a few days later. This Shin family cousin was no good in my past life. Though this arrangement didn't come to pass, she often whispered poison in my mother-in-law's ear, making life difficult for me. Later, when the Shin family regained their standing and returned to the capital, the cousin, now married, even went out of her way to visit the general's estate just to mock and harass me, calling me and my daughter vile creatures unworthy of happiness. Otherwise, I might not have had the heart to let her enter the Shin household, only to face exile alongside them later. Nox's wife is truly virtuous. I knew I wasn't wrong about you back then. Don't worry, my child, I won't let you be treated unfairly. Having achieved her goal, my mother-in-law was uncharacteristically amiable, holding my hand affectionately as if the person who had been passive-aggressive toward me for the past 2 years, constantly enforcing rules, was someone else entirely. As we left Rongqing Hall, Nox Shin wore a dark expression. His gaze filled with suspicion as he looked at me. Kira Jiang, did you do this on purpose? You know my heart belongs only to Sia. Are you still holding a grudge against me? What an arrogant fool, I cursed inwardly. While my face grew even more aggrieved, I looked at Nox Shin with disbelief and said, Nox, how could you think of me like that? I only thought about how in our past life, I risked my life and only gave you a daughter. Mother-in-law was right. I couldn't bear to see your lineage wither. That's why I swallowed my sorrow and agreed to let cousin Xiao into the household. Woo-woo, even if your heart belongs only to Sia, after all these years by your side, do you really feel nothing for me at all? In my past life, I despised Sia's behavior the most. But now I feel like I've become an upgraded version of Sia. Sure enough, that bastard Nox Shin, seeing me like this, actually showed a hint of guilt on his face. Kira, I didn't mean it that way. I just thought you didn't care about me anymore. So woo-woo, if I didn't care about you, why would I follow you into exile? Why would I take care of your parents? Woo-woo, after a tearful outpouring, Nox Shin was convinced that I loved him to the marrow of my bones and that my feelings would never change in this lifetime. Kira, I wronged you in our past life, but in this one, I'll treat you well. Please don't cry. It's all my fault, however, because of this incident. I temporarily set aside the matter of divorce, planning to bring it up again in a couple of days. After all, Nox Shin isn't a fool. His blind confidence stemmed solely from my past actions, which had made him overly self-assured. The next day, my mother-in-law called me over again, still concerning that cousin from the Xiao family. Although it's just taking a concubine, she is after all a noble concubine, and your cousin comes from the Xiao family. We must make it look decent for the sake of appearances. Mother, whatever you decide, your daughter-in-law has no objections. The Xiao family's status is indeed not low, so it should be done with some grandeur. Nox will also gain face. As I left my mother-in-law's place, the Xiao cousin stopped me, her face not bothering to conceal her smugness. Aunt-in-law, my aunt is so kind to me. She even specially added to my dowry. I'm truly grateful in my heart. Adding to the dowry of a noble concubine, that's really being a good mother-in-law. It's good that mother cares for you. There are still good days ahead for you. Watching my cousin from the Xiao family deliberately come to provoke me, I was laughing inside. No matter how much dowry she has, it's useless. When the Shun family is raided, everything will be confiscated. I wonder if this dear cousin would be willing to go into exile with them then. However, this doesn't seem to be something cousin Xiao can decide. After all, a concubine is considered the property of the Shun family, especially since cousin Xiao lacks a strong maternal family to plan for her. 2 more days passed. When cousin Xiao was taken in as a concubine, I once again expressed my sorrow and admiration to Nox Shun, finally coaxing him into writing the divorce agreement. Not only that, but he also agreed to compensate me with an additional 10,000 taels of silver from the Shun family's assets. Perhaps because things hadn't been going smoothly these past 2 days, Nox Shun no longer had the same confidence as before. He looked at me earnestly and said, "Kira, if everything becomes irreparable, you will be our Shun family's fallback." I solemnly met Nox Shun's gaze and replied, "Yes, I will certainly not fail in this duty, if that day truly comes. I won't abandon the Shun family." Nox Shun's last bit of hesitation vanished upon hearing my words. I temporarily kept the news of our separation hidden, and everything proceeded smoothly. With Nox Shun's tacit approval, I followed the dowry list meticulously. Even items previously used were replaced by Nox with equivalents of equal value. Only after moving all the dowry to the newly purchased residence did I allow the news to be released. The news of Nox Shun and I separating sent shockwaves throughout the capital. After all, neither the Shun family nor my Jiang family were ordinary households. In this dynasty, separation was an extremely unconventional matter. When my dear mother-in-law heard the news, she couldn't believe it and rushed over in a hurry. "Kira Jiang, what on earth is going on? Why are people outside saying you and Nox have divorced?" I had just filed the divorce papers with the authorities, making the divorce officially effective. With Nox Shun's signed voluntary divorce agreement, and thanks to my reminders, every word was written crystal clear, stating that the Shun family would have no further connection with me whatsoever. Even if the Shun family were to be raided, it wouldn't implicate me in the slightest. So even when I saw my former mother-in-law, I was in a very good mood. "That's right, Madam Shun. Your son has always been infatuated with his childhood sweetheart, Xia. I won't stand in the way of their long-term happiness, so I'm making room for Xia Shun." With the divorce finalized and my dowry moved out, Nox Shun no longer had any leverage over me. I felt particularly relaxed and saw no need to hold back on things that shouldn't be said. "Kira Jiang, what nonsense are you spouting? If the old lady doesn't believe me, she can go ask her precious son herself. Do you know why I've been childless for 3 years since marrying into this family? It's because Nox Shun has remained chaste for his Xia and never touched me. In my past life, we only had that child after being exiled, when Nox Shun was moved by me and got drunk, leading to our first and only marital consummation. This time around, I actually think this arrangement is quite good. At least my body remains untainted." My former mother-in-law was utterly shocked by these words and nearly fainted on the spot. "This is impossible. You're talking nonsense, Jiangsha. Once you leave the Shun family today, don't ever think about stepping back into the Shun household again. Without my son Nox, which respectable family in the capital would want a divorced woman like you? There's no need for you to worry about that. Madam, you should focus more on yourself. Such good days won't last much longer. Better enjoy them while you can." Watching my former mother-in-law act so high and mighty, I couldn't help but feel a sense of mockery. Leaving those words behind deliberately to stir up trouble in the Shun household, I curled my lips into a faint smile. With a few loyal maids in tow, I left the Shun residence and moved into my newly purchased courtyard. Nox Shun was furious, but at this point he had neither the time nor the energy to trouble me. His efforts outside were proving fruitless, and at home, his mother was causing an uproar, due to Nox Shun's relentless running around. The mastermind behind the scenes likely wanted to avoid any complications. As a result, the Shun family's confiscation and exile came even sooner than expected. I was relieved that I had divorced quickly and informed my own family. In this lifetime, I would never again suffer such undeserved hardships for Nox Shun. Remembering how Xia had claimed in my past life that she was unaware of the Shun family's exile, I kindly took the initiative to send her a message this time. I didn't want Nox Shun to have any regrets. After all, He always believed his beloved Sia would have accompanied him into exile if only she had known. On the day of the exile, I went to the city gate to see Nox Shan off. Nox Shan was thrilled to see me, thinking I would foolishly follow them into exile like in my past life, toiling for them like a beast of burden. Nox Shan, here are 200 taels of silver, take it for the journey, it may come in handy, our bond in this life has ended. Take care of yourself from now on. I handed Nox Shan the 200 taels of silver, deliberately giving him large silver ingots. It was intentional. In my past life, my family had prepared only small pieces of silver for me, which were easily spent along the way without drawing envy, but with ingots. What are you doing, Sia? Aren't you coming with us? Nox Shan refused to take the bundle I had prepared for him, staring at me in disbelief. Of course not. Let your dear Sia endure this hardship instead. I already sent her a message. Didn't she always regret not being able to accompany you to the border in her past life? This time, I'll definitely give her the chance. At a time like this, Nox Shan immediately frowned upon hearing this. Sia is delicate. How could she possibly bear such hardship? TSK, still thinking so much about his beloved Sia at a time like this. From now on, all your glory must be shared with Sia, since she enjoys the honor. She should also share the hardship with you. There's no such thing in this world as reaping benefits without suffering losses. Don't you agree? Are you worried that Sia won't come? As I said this, the corners of my lips curled into an even wider smile. Don't worry, I've given the Xiao family 2,000 taels of silver. By now, Sia is already a proper concubine of your Shan family and will soon be sent over to accompany you to the borderlands, making up for the regrets of your past life. Nox Shan's face remained gloomy until Sia was brought over, supported by others. Brother Nox, you've suffered. Seeing Nox Shan's tearful eyes, Sia noticed, and Nox Shan then gave me a look. That look, Kira Jiang understood. Look, Sia is much better than you. I'm not in a hurry, let's keep watching Sia perform. Brother Nox, something like this has happened. Sia is heartbroken. Sia wishes she could accompany you to the border. But Brother Nox, you know Sia's condition. Brother Nox, you care for Sia the most. How could you bear to see Sia suffer at the border? I watched as Nox Shan's expression turned from joy to disbelief and darkened. How interesting. In the end, Sia still went to the borderlands. I handed the concubine document to the officers, and as a member of the Shan family, Sia naturally had to be exiled along with them. Before my dear mother-in-law left, she pointed at me and raged. Kira Jiang, after all the kindness our Shan family has shown you. You ungrateful wretch, the kindness Madame Shan speaks of, was it making me observe strict etiquette every day, regardless of the bitter cold or scorching heat, or forcing me to copy scriptures and kneel in the ancestral hall every month? In my past life, for Nox Shan, I silently endured countless grievances without him ever knowing. Nox Shan seemed completely unaware of these matters. But upon hearing this, he finally looked at me with a hint of guilt in his eyes. Watching the Shan family leave, I couldn't help but break into a wide grin. As for that despicable couple who caused the death of my children, Nox Shan still believes he can make a comeback this time. Little does he know, I've already bribed the soldiers escorting them to ensure they experience every bit of the suffering I endured in my past life. I spent all 5,000 taels I got from Nox Shan on him, buying Sia, and the rest was used for bribes. It's just a pity the border is too far away. This is all I could do. Nox Shan is indeed formidable. Even with my deliberate interference and obstacles, he still climbed his way up, though his face bears much more weariness and depth than in his previous life. No doubt he's been through a lot. I went shopping for jewelry with a friend and happened to see Nox Shan returning to the capital on a majestic horse, leading his troops. Just as glorious as in his past life, Nox Shan seemed to sense my gaze and looked over, noticing the faint excitement and tears in my eyes. Years had passed, and I no longer felt anything for Nox Shan. I turned and entered the jewelry store, but I hadn't expected that when I came out, Nox Shan would already be waiting at the door. Kira, it's been years. How have you been? Thanks to General Shan's blessings, I've been living quite well these past few years. Recalling the events of my past life and the suffocating days spent in the Shan family, it feels like a lifetime ago. These past few years have truly been comfortable and carefree. Kira, I know you resent me because of what happened in your past life, which is why you treat me this way. I can let go of everything in the past, as long as you're willing to return to my side. All my honors and privileges can be shared with you. I'll even request the Emperor to confer upon you the title of a first-rank general's lady, General Shun. Spare me the jokes, keep all that for your dear Sia. When Sia was mentioned, a shadow of gloom and ruthlessness flashed across Nox's face. That bitch has already been killed by me. In my past life, I was blind to have fallen for such a thing. Sia, forgive me just this once. General Shun, we've long been divorced. Stop making such jokes, if possible. I'd actually prefer if you and Sia had both died at the border. After saying this, regardless of Nox's reaction, I turned and left. I saw Nox again at a banquet hosted by the Prime Minister's wife. My former mother-in-law, Lady Shun, looked triumphant and radiant. But no matter how she dressed up now, she couldn't hide the aging and weariness on her face. When she saw me, old Madame Shun's face flashed with hatred, disgust, and venom. Kira Jiang. You abandoned woman, what right do you have to appear at such a banquet? Don't think my son still has any affection for you. Let me tell you, I will never allow a woman like you to step into our Shun family again. Back when our family was down on our luck, you were so quick to cut ties. With your character, you're not even fit to be my son's concubine. Old Madame Shun held grudges. This former daughter-in-law had lived comfortably while their family struggled, showing not an ounce of loyalty to the Shun family. Now that the Shuns had regained their prosperity, they would never take such a woman back. With a son as outstanding as hers, he could surely marry a high-born maiden again. Madame Shun deliberately intended to humiliate Kira Jiang in front of so many people as a form of revenge, but as soon as the words were spoken, the way everyone looked at her became rather strange. Madame Shun failed to notice that Kira Jiang's seating was actually higher than hers. At such a formal banquet, whether it was seating arrangements or other details, the host had arranged everything according to status. The woman beside Madame Shun, upon hearing her words, also sneered at Kira Jiang. If you ask me, this is a banquet hosted by the Prime Minister's wife, not just anyone can attend. Kira Jiang, I don't know how you managed to sneak in, but given your status, you don't deserve to stand there. Be sensible and leave on your own, or else when the Prime Minister's wife arrives and has you thrown out, it won't look good for you. I am here today as a guest invited to this banquet. If I am seated here, it is naturally because my status warrants it. Nonsense. What status do you have? Now that your father has retired, and with your brother holding such a minor official post, could it be that you've latched onto some high-ranking official in the court? A military officer's wife, who had been flattering old Lady Shun all along, her husband had also come to the capital with Nox Shun, was unaware of the actual situation in the capital. To curry favor with old Lady Shun, she deliberately slandered Kira Jiang. What nonsense are you talking about? Kira is not that kind of person. Nox Shun had entered at some point without anyone noticing. Upon hearing these words, he immediately defended Kira Jiang with displeasure. Nox, my son, have you forgotten the hardships we endured at the border? Kira Jiang is so ungrateful and heartless. I absolutely refuse to let her set foot in the Shun family again. Mother, I've told you before, this isn't Kira's fault, it's mine. Let's end this matter here today. I don't want to hear anyone slandering Kira again. Old Madame Shun had never been able to stand firm against her son, especially since their return from the border. He was decisive and unyielding. And sometimes the intensity of his anger even frightened her. Nox Shun only then looked at Kira Jiang and said, Kira, it's my fault for not handling things well. Don't worry, if you're willing to return to the Shun family, I won't let my mother make things difficult for you. Nox Shun, your whole family is delusional. How many times do I have to say it? I have no interest in your Shun family. I'm utterly exhausted by this family's persistence. Kira, I know you still resent me. This time, I'll reserve the position of the legal wife for you. Let's live well together. I won't hold the past against you. At your age, what better choice do you have besides marrying me? I know life is hard for a divorced woman. Be realistic and stop being stubborn with me. I finally couldn't help but roll my eyes. Nox Shun, Didn't you bother to ask around when you returned to the capital? I'm already married and have a child, so stop saying these ridiculous things. Noxshin stared at Kira Jiang in disbelief, his hands gripping my shoulders so tightly it hurt. Kira Jiang, how could you do this? Even if life after divorce is hard, you shouldn't degrade yourself like this. After a long silence, Noxshin seemed to have gone through intense internal conflict. As long as you divorce immediately and cut ties with that man, I can overlook this. While you can't be my official wife, I can offer you a position as my concubine, General Shin. What bold words you have. How dare you try to take what belongs to this prince? Nan Gongche walked in from outside, wrapped his arms around my waist from behind, and soothingly held my hand. As soon as Nan Gongche entered, everyone in the courtyard knelt in unison. Greetings to the Regent King. Noxshin never expected that the man I hooked up with would be the Regent Prince, Nan Gongche, if there were still a few people in the world that Noxshin feared. Nan Gongche would be at the top of the list. The Regent Prince held immense power, even the Emperor was under his control. As for Noxshin, the mighty general, he was nothing in front of Nan Gongche. His rise and fall, honor and disgrace, were merely a matter of Nan Gongche's word. I wouldn't dare. I just didn't expect Kira to be with you. Your Highness the Regent Prince, Kira is my lawfully wedded wife, properly married by me, Nan Gongche. How dare you address her by her given name? Yes, Your Highness, this humble official acknowledges his offense. I shall never dare to disrespect the princess consort again. I turned to look at Nan Gongche. Why have you come? I was worried about you. Now that you're with child, what if someone jostles you at the banquet? I've come to take you back to the manor. Nan Gongche's expression was cold as he faced the crowd, but when he looked at me, his face softened with adoration as he playfully tapped my nose. I nestled in Nan Gongche's embrace, meeting the incredulous gazes of Noxshin and my former mother-in-law, a blissful smile spreading across my face. I'll be careful. Besides, who would dare to be so reckless as to provoke me now? As I said this, I couldn't help but think of the military officer's wife whom I had just casually slandered to flatter Madame Shin. You, come here. I beckoned to the military officer's wife with a crook of my finger. The general's wife seemed utterly terrified, trembling as she walked up to me. I didn't hold back at all. I slapped her across the face. Being foolish is one thing, but to be so vicious and stupid, casually slandering a woman's virtue. Have you no idea how important a woman's reputation is? I had absolutely no intention of showing mercy where mercy was due. Some people and some actions, once committed, must bear the consequences. The general's wife covered her face, kneeling on the ground and sobbing uncontrollably. I turned my gaze back to my former mother-in-law. Now, my former mother-in-law finally knew fear. Her eyes darted away, and even though she still couldn't stand me, I was no longer someone she thought she could trample underfoot at will. Instead, I had become someone she couldn't possibly reach and dared not offend. She could never have dreamed that I would rise so high as to be connected to Nan Gongche. Old Madame Shin, since you enjoy punishing people by making them kneel, today you shall kneel here properly until the banquet concludes. This princess consort will have someone keep a close eye on you. If you dare show the slightest disobedience, your son need not remain a general anymore, and your entire family can return to the remote northwest. Upon hearing this, her former mother-in-law was so terrified that her legs gave way, and she collapsed to her knees. I carried out all of this while Nan Gongche watched from the side. Only when I had finally finished dealing with the matter did he take my hand with a pained expression, gently massaging it. Why trouble yourself with such actions? Be careful not to hurt your hand. Since this wretched woman dared to insult the princess consort, this prince can simply have her thrown into the valley of wild wolves to feed the beasts. The general's wife fainted from fright upon hearing these words and was dragged out by Nan Gongche's men. Noxshin had remained silent since Nan Gongche entered, occasionally casting glances filled with deep conflict and complexity. I no longer focused my attention on these unworthy individuals, thinking instead of my son at home. Let's go. It's time to head back. We've been out for so long. Ye must be missing me by now. Nan Gongyi was born in the second year after I married Nan Gongche, now 3 years old. He has always been clever and mischievous. turning the royal residence upside down every day. Back when Noxtion left the capital, Nan Gongche immediately came to propose marriage to her. For Kira Jiang, marrying Nan Gongche was a high-stakes gamble, but recalling everything she had witnessed in her past life, and considering how he had avenged her and their daughter, she was willing to take the bet. After all, it was just a matter of one life. Later, her choice proved right. No matter how ruthless Nan Gongche was outside, at home, he was always gentle with her. In the second year of their marriage, they had a bright and lively son, and now she was pregnant again.